What up YouTube, Salvador Brigman here, and today we're talking about how you can make money with podcasting. And this is coming from my own personal experience. I produce this show, has produced over 150 episodes. You can check it out on iTunes. It's called Crowdfunding Demystified. Been doing it a while now, and I have some insights not only in how you can monetize your podcast, but how I have done it, and some ways that whether you're more of an educational podcast or you're more of an entertainment podcast, you can get more bang for your buck. So that's something I want to talk about today. And I also just want to preface this by saying I am here outside, so you might hear some background noise. It's just kind of the reality of filming outside, so I apologize for that. But let's get into some of the content here. So the first thing I want to say is, when you begin to podcast, you begin to get interested in podcasting, the very first thing that came to my mind was, okay, let's monetize this with sponsorships or with advertisement. That's sort of the first go-to monetization strategy of many beginners out there. And sort of a harsh reality of this is that, honestly, if you are going to monetize your podcast with advertising alone, it's going to be really hard to do that. And the reason is, let's just say you have 1,000 downloads of a new episode that you release. You might make $50 for producing that episode, because you have a few different spots. You have the beginning of the podcast, you have the middle, you have the end. And when you add together all of the different sponsorship opportunities, maybe you can be making $50 to $70 per episode at the tops when you're just beginning. And that's really disheartening, because I know that when I was first putting out podcasts, I was maybe getting like 100 people to listen to the first episode, maybe 200 people if I was lucky. So to even get to 1,000, that number seemed insurmountable. It seemed like, wow, how am I ever going to get to 1,000 downloads? And now I do over 1,000 downloads per episodes that I release, etc. But at the beginning, that was really hard. So the question is, how do you actually monetize? How do you actually make money at this frickin' thing? And the sort of sad reality is, up until probably the first year, you're not going to make very much money podcasting, and unless you do what I'm about to mention. So you can think of the podcast in two ways. You can think of the podcast as just a product in and of itself. It is the podcast episode is the product, you're monetizing that with ads. Or you can think of the podcast as a way to begin to develop a relationship with a particular audience, and that's how I thought of it. So what do I mean by that? I mean bread and butter content marketing. So you're using this podcast to develop a relationship with a particular demographic. And then what you do is, once you have that relationship developed, you can get those people onto an email list, you can get those people onto a webinar, you can get those people onto your blog where they can learn more about what you have to offer. It could be online courses, could be a book that you've written, could be an event you're producing, could be even things that you've created, maybe like a board game or swag or something like that. You need something that you can sell to people if you really want to make money with podcasting. And that's kind of hard to hear first starting out, because most people don't just have products that they can sell. But if you are doing a comedy podcast, you can begin to ask yourself, okay, how can I make people laugh in a larger sense? If I'm delivering a particular type of emotion like entertainment, or making someone laugh out loud and you're being funny, how can you deliver that same emotion with something else? Maybe a card game, maybe a board game, maybe a comic, something like that. You can begin to think of ways that you can service this niche or this industry in a deeper sense. And if you're doing something more educational related, it's actually going to be easier, I think, to monetize right off the bat, because you can do services, you can help them out with freelancing, you can do consulting, etc. So if you initially think of the podcast as a way to develop a relationship with someone, you're going to have a lot easier time with monetizing. Now, aside from that, let's just talk, say 6 months, a year down the road, how can you begin to monetize it even further? So what I've done is, not only do I use the podcast as a relationship building tool, but I will also include affiliate links in my shows. So let's just say I do an episode and we're talking about e-commerce. Well, one of the ways to build an e-commerce store is with Shopify. And I am an affiliate of Shopify. So I'll ask the guest a question like, hey, how did you actually build your online store? if they mention Shopify, I can include that link in the description of the podcast. So that goes on my blog. People then who discover the podcast can go and click through. If they like the episode, they want to check out Shopify, a certain number will sign up. Boom, I just made an affiliate sale. So affiliate marketing is another way that you can begin to make money with podcasting. And in addition to sponsorships and services, freelancing, selling your own products, affiliate marketing, I think another really powerful way to make money with podcasting is to use it or to view it as a way to get people onto your website. And from there, they can begin to engage with some of the other stuff that you're doing. So like speaking. If you want to become a speaker, obviously podcasting is all about talking and interviewing, etc. I've gotten speaking gigs because I put out a podcast. People realize I have the ability to interview people, I have the ability to talk to a certain degree, so that is a proof of concept, if you will, that if they invite me to their event and I interview someone on the stage or I do a talk of some sort on some kind of topic, maybe a 30-minute long talk, that they know I can deliver. They know what to expect because they've listened to my show. So these are a few different ways that you can monetize your podcast. I wouldn't look at podcasting as a medium in its sole, look at it alone as a way to make money. I think it's a way to get in touch with a particular group or demographic, and then to begin to ask yourself, how can I service these needs more effectively and in a deeper way? If these are entrepreneurs, how can I help them in a larger sense? If these are marketers, how can I help them in a larger sense? If I'm putting on a podcast to help people with their daily life and managing emotions, how can I help them in a larger sense? Maybe a workshop or a live in-person event or something like that. Podcasting is really powerful for that reason. And I've done it all. I have another YouTube channel, I have the blog, I have an online forum, I have the podcast, etc. I have books out there that people can buy, I have audiobooks. I've done a lot of different things. The main difference that I've seen with podcasting is the engagement factor. Because when someone tunes into your voice and tunes into your message for a good 30 to 40 minutes, they are far more engaged than someone who just scanned your blog post, etc. So more engaged people lead to better customers. If you want me to go more in depth with any of these ways that I've used to monetize my podcast, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. And also, if you want more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. I have another great video out there where I talk about some podcasting tips and hacks and things that I've learned that I will also link up in the description of this video so that you can check it out. But again, my name is Sal. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.